Hi, everyone. My name is Towan Isom, and welcome to All Americanish. In this episode, we explore some of the challenges of toxic masculinity and men who are becoming anti women in this episode on masculinity and what happens in the incel culture among Generation Z. With me, I have one of the most esteemed professors and therapists on the subject, Dr. Rhoades. Dr. Rhoades, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Just grew up in Oklahoma,
Oh, I
and
love that.
oh yeah, but cowboy culture, and then moved to South Carolina and got a good old taste of Southern living, and been here for about 30 years. So
Oh,
can't,
wow.
yeah, good stuff, and graduated from seminary in New Orleans, and have been practicing since about 1987. So I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
Oh, wow. So, what are you seeing in today's culture as it relates to male female relationships? Because to me, I'm really surprised. I'm a little older. I'm in Gen Z. I'm sorry. Oh, I wish Gen X. Actually, I really don't wish I was in Gen Z, but I'm in Gen X. And I just, I'm seeing a lot of things play out with some of my nieces, some of the young ladies that I mentor, even women that are millennials when it comes to the dynamics of male female relationships, or women and men relationships that are completely different during my time when I was dating and out there in the world trying to secure myself a suitor or being available for a suitor. What's going on and what has caused this shift as it relates to the male female dynamics of just what I feel has become anger
Yes,
among men towards women?
yeah,
How do we get to this place? Because I know nothing happens overnight. So, what have you noticed just from a spiritual perspective and a political perspective of what, and even professional, which I think has some impact as well, of what you're seeing happen in that dynamic?
okay. In the middle, we have that old saying: to every action, there's an equal reaction. Okay,
Mm.
we are in the reaction. Okay, that what we're seeing, this element of toxic masculinity, came from the action of feminizing masculinity. See, we went from flow to control, and this is a reaction to control, trying to control how people behave rather than live and let live, which was in the old generations.
So, okay, we definitely have to unpack that. When you say flow to control, what do you mean? And from the male's perspective or from the woman's perspective?
Well, from the culture perspective, okay, is
Mm.
that okay? Basically, men and women grew up. They looked at how the behavior of their elders, and they
Mm.
mimicked that behavior, and that had a certain emotional, spiritual, society flow to it. Okay,
Mm.
but then all of a sudden there came this voice out there that said, "We're not happy with that. We're not happy with that structure." And so, what we want to do, we do not feel like the woman's voice is heard. And so, all of a sudden, we've got to get in their minds, the woman's voice heard. We have to crank up the control of the feminine and
Mm.
demonize the role of masculine.
So was it that we didn't like her, or we didn't? As I know you're not a woman, so you can't relate to this. I mean, not that I know of, because
No,
nowadays you can't.
no,
A lot of stuff
not
going
today,
on,
not today.
right? So, so is it how it was being how women were being controlled? Is it that we were not heard, or is it just that how we were being heard, women didn't feel was appropriate or enough?
Okay. Here's an element that happened. Okay.
Okay.
People begin to realize that life had a certain narrative. Just like movies have a narrative, books have a narrative, life had a narrative. Okay. And for generations, for the most part, that worked. Okay. But then came along a generation that says, wait a minute, we don't like that narrative. And so what we're going to do is we're going to implement basically like a dimmer switch. We're going to dimmer switch the narrative and change it. And so initially, okay, yeah, whatever message this is, whatever narrative this is, men were willing to adjust, but there came what would be called a tipping point in which what was going on was the balance of the male-female interaction, which had before been somewhat copacetic, became unbalanced. And so that was the action. And so, wait a minute, when I feel like what I used to do or the people I knew used to do isn't working and I'm somewhat lost, then that puts me in a position of being reactionary. Okay, right. What do I do? And so I'm going to be allured by people who are what is now considered toxic masculinity. That is a reaction to feminized masculinity.
So do you think women overplayed their hand?
Yes, without a doubt. And they did that through narrative. They shifted the narrative. They did not collaborate on the narrative and say, okay, how's it going to work for both of us? How are we going to have a balance of male, female that is in the working of fleshing it out? And what they found out was nobody asked. Men were trying to be in a place of, okay, I'll go along. Okay, I'll go along. Yeah, I'll be nice. I'll do whatever. Or to heck with that. Screw them all.
Right.
Hey, I don't care at that point. Then offending for men didn't matter. I don't care if I offend. If I have to offend to stake my claim on what I see as regular masculinity, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to find figures that have really cranked it up, that are on the high end of masculinity, and I'm going to worship them. And I'm going to listen to their narrative, and I'm going to use their narrative and say, you got your narrative, that feminine masculinity narrative. I've got this toxic, and that's how I'm going to balance it out. And so what we have, which was, like it not was before, I mean, I think there was always a delicate balance, but now you have a all-out battle.
Well, I could say I agree with that because I had my niece over yesterday and we had a great conversation because she was saying, well, two scenarios I would say. She was saying how challenging it is to find, she's in college, she's at Boston College, and she was saying how hard it is to find a suitor just to date. And then I was telling her, I said, well, I really feel sorry for, Gen Zs. I said, because when I was coming up several years ago, there was something that happened with males, women and men that was just cordial and respectful, right? A male would walk you home, but he wasn't necessarily trying to date you. It was just, that was how a gentleman behaved.
Yes.
So you would see these relationships where you would see a group of people, almost like Friends or In Living Color in the Black community, where you would see males and females interacting just in friendships and relationships. And through those friendships and relationships, people would come in and out of the group and they would meet people and they were all just platonic friends. And from that, you would have an opportunity to meet other people. Most of those people ended up getting married. But now we've created this, like you said, this battle between women and men, I feel, where now it's like, I'm not going to walk you home. I'm not going to open the door for you. And I'm old school. I like stuff like that, right? I'm not going to carry the groceries for you. And I actually see it play out in everyday life where men don't know. It's like pardon my expression, we castrated them. And then we also say we want you to be our friend, our protector. And it's like, you can't be both. You can't be both. You have to decide. You got to decide. Is he going to be your protector, whether he's just as a woman? I like those things, right? Or is he are you going to battle it out with him because you want to be man against man, but you're a woman? So I think we did not get collaboration. I would agree with you on that, but is it possible now? Because now I feel like we're at a stalemate where women are not willing to, I don't even want to say soften up, because I know they're crying and they want to have a relationship, but men are just like, I don't want to deal with, like, I feel like we pushed them in a corner. I don't know, what do I tell my niece?
Okay.
I just unloaded a lot on you.
One thing you want to tell your niece is create a personal vision for her future. Okay. What does she see her future, and what does she see someone being with her would look like?
We talked about that yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, that is very important. Okay. Then when she meets the opposite sex, don't get into masculinity versus femininity, get into vision. I'm looking for someone to connect with me in a dual vision. So now we're not enemies, we're collaborators in a single vision. And then if I feel like you have a vision and I have a vision and they're similar visions, okay, now we work on, can we, in those two separate visions, come up with a single vision for the future? And how do we, as individuals, adjust to make that vision happen?
So what do we do about getting to the point where we can even discuss our vision? Where do you see them? Where do we meet them? If they're just still so hostile toward women, and women are just so jaded about men?
Well, I think you're seeing that point is where, if all of a sudden, if I'm jumping very hard to feminize masculinity, I'm pushing men away. And then if I then react to it in toxic masculinity, I'm pushing women away. So now we're pushing each other away, and we're seeing a generation feel the consequence of pushing the opposite sex away.
So is it then that we should over feminize as women?
No, single vision. Get away from feminine and masculine and get into how are we going to make this happen? You're an individual, I'm an individual, okay? And hopefully how you express your femininity seems to have an element of fit to my masculinity. See, we've almost got to be emotional, professional figure skaters.
Wow, that's even more work for this generation. Are you kidding?
I think they're going to have to do that, and I think that's a consequence of what we've seen going on.
So who created this mess? Was it like generation? Was it baby boomers? Was it generation Gen X? Was it millennials? Was it Gen Z? Because I feel like it wasn't created, like where we are now was not created by Gen Z.
No, I think it came after the boomers, but I think there was a, looking at I'm a boomer, and things shifted when the hippies came in. I don't want to blame the hippies, but I'm saying that culture of it's all fluid and we get to be what we want to be. Well, not exactly.
Not really. There's consequences to that.
Oh, now you said the magic word. I think it is consequences that is going to draw men and women back together. I think they're going to look and say, well, I can take that high feminine place. I can take that toxic masculinity place, but I can't take it for free. And then I begin to ask myself, is it worth it? Is my life better? And am I being the best I can be all wrapped up in me? No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. See, you can't, no, the old say, no man is an island.
So you almost have to hurt enough in order for the change, for you to be willing to make the change happen.
Well, I think in all cases, we try stuff, and if it doesn't work, and we try it again, and it doesn't work at some place, the pain of it not working draws us to a different direction.
To want to change. Yeah.
Right.
Or do something different, like you said, or do something different.
Right. And I think that people just aren't walking down the street and say, I want to be a professional ice skater.
Right.
they have to say, I feel led to do this. I've got to find a partner. I might try 2 or 3. They don't seem to click. Oh, but I found this one. And who I am and who they are seem to jive together. Oh, and together we emotionally create our own couple flow that seems to move us better together than we were singularly.
Okay. So let's shift here. I want to talk about something that, we just kind of transitioned from the last conversation, but I want us to talk now specifically about the roles of what I'm seeing each generation has the responsibility and the obligation to take on as it relates to ensuring our future. Because I personally believe that what I'm seeing now is people are not getting married. And when people don't get married or they don't have a relationship, depression is higher, suicide is higher. What also happens is people are not procreating and having children anymore. If you have children and it's I don't want to say a oops baby, or children that you did not plan, that comes with a whole another set of issues of single parenting, frustration, lack of fatherhood, all because of us not being able to get this relationship piece together in our own lives. With this, money is great, but the most important thing you will ever have is partnership and relationship and community with other people. So for me, what should be going on at each generation to ensure that we can undo all the crisis that we've actually created?
I think it's looking at benefit versus consequence. Benefit versus consequence. Because I think we've got a generation that you're not going to be able to tell them what to do. They're like, you try to tell them, they're like, you know nothing. They're geniuses. Okay. Yeah. What I think will teach them is consequence. Okay. It's like you can tell them all day long, don't put your hand on the stove. Don't put your hand on the stove. And they're like, I'm going to put my hand on the stove. And so you back up and go, then knock it out. And guess what? The hand gets burned.
So I'm assuming we're talking mostly about Gen Z, because Gen X's are who they're going to be by now. Baby boomers, you all are ready for retirement. If you're not already retired, some of us in Gen X is ready for retirement. But are we putting too much energy really on Gen Zs? And should we just, I don't want to say this to sound, mean, but if they don't want to listen, should we just write them off and focus on the alpha generation that's coming behind them? Because we still have,
do not write off any generation. Do not write off any generation. And
because they don't listen, like you
I
said.
I do not think until you put people in the grave, they can't change.
Okay. So assuming they could change.
Watching them, encouraging them to change, giving them benefits for changing, giving them options, and then say, show me. See, because it was great what you just said again. Oh, they're doing this, and here's a consequence, and here's a consequence, and yeah, buddy, how's that working for you? Mm-hmm. And so but when you go in and they see people, they see the benefit of coupling, they see the benefit of family, they see the benefit of connection. That took work. That didn't just happen like a Disney movie. It wasn't fantasy. This was put the plow to the ground kind of stuff that people did. And so I think people, the past generations, focusing on doing the doable. What can they do? And that is showing genuinely who they are, how they're married, how they get by, how do they pay bills, how do they do that. Those would all be under the category of benefit, and then stand back. See, we've gotten into this idea of we've got to tell everybody what to do. Mm. So we've developed a generation that doesn't want to hear. Well, my thinking is, don't tell them, show them.
That's so good. I had a friend who used to say that. She's a pastor, and she would say, and her daughter is amazing. She's married at 28. They just had her grandbaby, and her daughter literally is a copy of her. She's very happy, amazing husband, cute little family. And she said, I never told her. I just showed her. She's like, I literally demonstrated.
Yeah. Yes. That's what's going to work right there. That's what's going to work. And here's the first place I start with people is I say, do you know the 2 biggest lies in America? Do you know the 2 biggest lies?
I don't. Tell me the biggest lies.
Okay. The number 1 biggest lie, easy to be married. That's the biggest lie in America. Yeah. Anybody who's married who says it's easy is a liar. Marriage is work, and there's a big difference between saying, there's a big difference in getting married versus being married. Mm. And so when people show what it takes to be married and they do away with the lie and say, hey, we're not lying to you. It's hard. But and even you did it a second ago. You talked about worth, the value of a particular system that you've seen. Yeah, that's what's going to convince past generations. Because who doesn't want to be a winner? Who doesn't want to be a winner?
Right.
So that's lie number 1. Guess what lie number 2 is?
What's lie number 2?
Easy to have children. Or
now that's definitely a lie. Yeah. Oh my God. Raising a child is by far, and no kid is alike. I used to always want like 6 to 7 kids.
Work. And
that is the work.
Right. But when you have a team focused, and being an example is the best raising of children. Just your friend who says a pastor has this child, she said, I didn't tell her. I showed her. Mm-hmm. I lived my life, and through that parented my child, and here's how she turned out. Yeah, here's the benefit. Versus, I just let them be what they wanted to be and do what they wanted to do, and said, how you'll work through it, realizing, wait a minute, when they were little, and if they played in the street, did you just look the other way? And if you did, you were a terrible parent. But if you saw them in the street and you ran out there and got them out and said, no, we don't play in the street.
Right.
Because that could be harmful. That's the kind of dynamics you're looking for in relationships. And by showing that, by doing it this way, it kept me out of the street. It kept me from getting run over.
It's so interesting. I find that some people will take their kids to places that they wouldn't take their supervisors.
Really? Oh, without a doubt.
And I like the whole parenting thing is new for me. I'm a newer parent at an older age. And I'm like,
wait a minute. Is there a right age to be a parent?
Well,
is that even
I don't think so. I think it's better to have kids at a later age.
Have kids, and it's tough. And I see older people it's tough. It's
tough either way.
Yeah.
And the trade-off is really when you have kids older, you might have more resources and they might get more opportunities and access, but you lose the energy. But when you're younger, you have the energy, but you may not have yet be early on in your career where you don't have the resources and the finances. So it's a trade-off either way. So like you said, there's no perfect time. It really comes down to the individual and the family and the partnership. I've seen relationships where marriages now, when you say what's the shared vision, where the husband was a very capable and high net worth individual, but he burnt out. He was just like, I cannot do this anymore. Right. And the wife, the dynamics of the roles shifted, where the wife was now the primary breadwinner and the husband was homeschooling. So it's not like a formula anymore. But those relationships, you really have to be it requires two very different types of, that's a different type of individual where the man doesn't feel emasculated because he is at home with the children. And the woman, because the little secret that nobody talks about is all women may be mothers, but they're not motherly. Some men I find are better, like when it comes to the emotional piece than women. And that's not saying that the woman is a bad mother. There are different things in her upbringing that may just have contributed to that. Or some women are just not warm and fuzzy. But as long as they're getting it in the household and they're getting love either way. So I think now with this new generation, I like what you said about shared vision, because what you're doing is you just totally dissipated and dismantled like the roles of a relationship. Who cooks and who doesn't? Now most of the men are cooking and they're better at it when I go to visit than the women are. But it's not the same anymore.
Right. And what I don't think we have to do things or need to do things the same, but we need to collaborate to a common vision and not over masculinate it or over feminize it. And that's what has happened, that back in the day, they changed the narrative. And what we're seeing now is the consequence. They were going, the narrative was, if we do it this way, it'll be better. And what happened was it wasn't.
Right. Because they didn't think about, I often see that sometimes with some of the race relations stuff as well. I see that play out. And I've kind of evolved with that a lot in my own perspective, just talking to people and interviewing people and doing research. It's like sometimes too much, it's like too much food. When you have too much food, you want to vomit it all up. It's like, so you got to understand that you can't overeat, and people can only take things at a certain pace, right? And so you have this culture shift now that has taken us to a place where we can't go. I don't know if we can ever go back to tradition and what roles used to be as they were defined. It's almost like evolved where it's something new.
No, I do not believe you can go back. I think that you do have to incorporate some of the past structure into the present moment.
Okay, well, so let's shift right now to that perspective.
Okay, good.
Let's talk about what are the past structures that really worked based on your experience as a therapist, seeing a lot of people, relationships, your expertise, what do you think is some of the things that really work that we lost?
The one thing that must come into play is collaboration. We are not collaborating well or showing how to collaborate well. We have come to an us versus them mentality. Us as being the good guys, whoever else isn't with us is the bad guy. We're the right people, everybody else is the wrong people. That's just crap. That's not true.
Right.
Okay.
And so in male-female relationships, like that dynamic, what do you think are some of the traditional things we should be doing at this very time?
Ooh. I think rather than to embrace a structure is for every couple to build their own personal structure on what they've seen work and not work. And
That's
so
good.
and that doesn't actually have to be who raised you, but who in your world, who seems to be. And it was great how you in a second went to your friend who's a minister who's raising a great girl. You just went and it happened. That's exactly what needs to happen, is people to come to a place of saying, it's the old idea. If I see everybody as a nail and me as a hammer, we got a problem. But that's what we've cultivated, a culture of hammers and nails.
That's so good. Because I think if we were to look at that, it's almost like, but the one thing, the problem, I'm going to be honest, the problem that I found that one of the things that I noticed is all those people that I know, and I have a lot of, I'm blessed to have a lot of friends who have good marriages, happy marriages. They started off as friends before. They were friends before they were romantic.
They were collaborators before they were a team.
Yeah. Wow. And they weren't hot and heavy trying to throw down in the bedroom so quick where they necessarily lost their judgment and their focus.
Let me help you with marriage, okay? In America. Or well, I'd say everywhere, but let's just, I'm an Americanist, okay? And that would be that most marriages were based off passion. Okay. When we took away the consequence of conceiving, and so people would get hot for each other, and that would be the reason they got together.
Correct.
Okay. But passion is not a constant improving element. Okay, that's a Disney movie that I'm going to be hot for somebody first year, second year, third year. It's just going to climb until we go off and we're dead. We're going to be loving and kind. No, that's a fantasy movie. That's not real. Okay, passion wanes. Okay, and the passion that you embrace that motivates you to get married lasts basically 5 years.
Really?
Yeah. And at 5 years, when I can't recreate the initial passion, and there's a whole industry that sells you stuff, getting you to believe if you do this, this will give you passion. If you do this, this will give you passion. They're purveyors of possible passion.
Purveyors of passion.
Yes. And so But what you see is the majority of people who get divorced in America, 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, if your marriage lasts more than 5 years, it's un-American. Yeah, because what you have to do is between the first year and the 5th year, you have to come up with a overriding collaborative vision for a couple. Okay. Now, if they grew up in the church, they're going to have the covenant that brings it. And so when the passion moves a little down, Well, they embrace the covenant.
Mm-hmm.
They embrace the structure. And it's real interesting. You see this even in America. And you just said it kind of a minute ago, which is people who have that kind of thinking hang around with people with that kind of thinking. Happily married people tend to hang around with happily married people. But boy, when you all look around and everybody's divorced, I'm saying the clock's ticking.
That's true. And I find that to be the case too. Like if you're trying to find a suitor or being available to a suitor, you don't want to be around a bunch of miserable women.
Yeah. Amen. Right.
That's not gonna get you a suitor. And if you're trying to get married, you don't want to be around a bunch of men who are bad mouthing and angry towards women.
Amen.
You want to go to the married people's barbecue. That's where you want to be.
Right.
And stay off Instagram and OnlyFans. Those little websites that get your loins revved up.
Without a doubt. And there it is. Loins revved up. You're not saying loins maintained at a revved motion, because that's not possible.
Correct.
See, to have a continual marriage, you have to go up and down and survive it all. But when you get married, what you do is you bring it up, and that's when you strike when the iron's hot.
So is there a better time based on what you've seen, for people to get married where they're not too far gone, but they're not too young, where they are mature enough to have the emotional capacity to know that a few arguments does not mean you marry the wrong person, but not so old enough to where you feel like you're not willing to be flexible or compromise.
There is
a window of time.
Right. There is a big difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Oh, you got to explain that to me. I've never heard that before.
Knowing the right things to do does not save a marriage.
Ooh.
Knowing the intricacies and depth of what to do does save a marriage. And how do you then see? And what we've got is a culture that worships knowledge. I'll just go to marriage class and I'll watch marriage stuff and I'll then be a good married. No, you won't. No, you won't. You'll be a knowledgeable divorcee. Is what you'll be. Versus if I have created an environment of wisely married people, they have a tendency to rub off on me emotionally. See, the old saying, birds of a feather flock together. If you're looking for someone to marry, look at the birds. And that will tell you
the crows.
If they've been raised by together birds and together birds, and they live in a together bird culture, wow, man, that's the one. You want that crowd. You want that person. Because there's going to be times in everybody's life where you're going down and you're questioning, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And the wise people will say, hey, what's great is wise people will normalize that. They will not see, the catastrophe. You gotta be more feminine. No. You've got to find the connect. And when you do, it will be the connect that will save the marriage. Because if anybody who says, well, I've been married 20 years and I've loved that person, and I'm saying, boy, what crap.
It's almost like, all the people I know who went to New York are still single after I graduated. All the people who I know who after college went down south, they're all married with families. So it's almost like the culture itself.
Right.
Feeds the like in Arkansas, in certain places, in South Carolina and North Carolina, like certain places just lend themselves to be married and to have a family versus other places It's Sex in the City, baby. You know, so
Well, what you're talking about is created cultures,
mm.
okay? And in gardening, we've learned that certain soil
Ooh.
tends to grow vegetables and flowers better. And
Right.
certain vegetables and flowers next to each other don't do well. Okay. So finding the best soil and finding the right connection of vegetables based on the vegetables they come from and are around, then pretty much assures a great harvest.
Mm.
So
That's
that's what,
so true.
yeah, that's biblical. See, the Bible, all through the
Oh, you
Bible.
know, this generation don't want to hear nothing biblical.
Well, and hey, and they can do that. God bless them, but they
Right.
can't do that for free.
True. And they can't
That's all.
escape it.
Yeah. You know, you can tell me I'm gonna say, wait a minute, let me get out of the way.
Right.
It's not my place. It's not my place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here, one time it's told me about therapy, and I think it's very well. It says so many people in therapy are standing down in the river trying to grab people drowning and get them out and keep them drowning.
Mm.
But the best, look at where they're going in.
Oh,
And say, what do I need to do, or what do I need to help them be aware of that they're getting close to falling in the river?
that's so good. It's almost like you have to opt into wanting to change.
Oh, amen. Amen.
You have to like if you're not willing to change and adjust, like you know, so let me tell you something. This is so corny, but I think people should do silent dating. Where they go out on a date and they can only use 20 words on that date. So let's say you're going to dinner and you're going to a movie. You can only use 20 words, or let's say we will cap 25 words on this date. Now, people might think that sounds crazy, but what it does is it so takes the dynamics of who that person is to another level. Because you want to know what words are they going to use. You want to know where. Then it's like the nonverbal things that really carry a relationship become so much more important. Like, does that person open the door for you? Like it's the nonverbal things that really let you know who a person is. It's not what they say, it's what they do. So
Okay,
if you're in this
I'm gonna use a phrase with you, okay?
Okay, tell me.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Trust the gut.
Oh, that's good.
See, that's old school. That's old school. And I can't say how many people I see in therapy who say, I knew, but I thought
what's the but? What's typically the buts when they say that?
That they dismissed what their gut told them. This person isn't right. This family isn't right. The situation isn't right. They will say it wasn't right from the beginning.
But why do they do it?
That because they believe they had so bought into self-empowerment that they believe they could overcome that, and they are not able to overcome it. See, but back in the day, they'd say, wait a minute, go out. And that's what you're doing. By limiting the words, you're drawing the person into thinking with their gut. See, you're closing their ears, and what has to come out to read things? Well, it's your gut.
Right.
And how does it make you feel?
Yeah. When I was thinking about getting married, there were only two things that really were at the forefront for me. Mm-hmm. One was, could I see myself when I was in my 80s sitting down with white hair with this person, and what would we be doing?
Amen. Well, now you're preaching the word.
And if
Woo!
I could not see them based on just everything, the full scenario, their family, their, their parents, what they do for a living, not the, irregardless of how attractive they were. Could I see myself playing chess with this person, having my little whiskey with this person, smoking a cigar with this person, whatever, and looking at our children and the life that we had created, not necessarily about money, but just a good life and happiness and joy and grandkids? Could I sit in those chairs with him or walk with him and hold hands and through all that time? It was the end, not the beginning, that I looked at.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'll give you another great thought here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Old music versus current music.
Oh.
It's interesting that I can listen to a song recorded by an artist in the 1950s and still be like, great one, heard through the grapevine.
I love that.
I can listen to that. I've listened to it all my life, and I can still listen to it the rest of my life. Okay. The element is it wears well.
Oh, that's good.
There's other songs that you listen to.
Oh my God.
Okay, if I never hear that song again,
but music is spirit too. That's what people don't understand. We're getting, music is spirit. The second thing I looked at is whether or not I felt this person would be a good parent, and could I co-parent and raise children with them? Do I want to have the offspring of this man?
Yes. You're thinking consequentially.
I always think consequentially, which that's why it took me so long.
Well, that is not a born trait.
Really?
Right. Oh, but yeah. Watch this generation. You see a whole generation that does not think consequentially at all.
I always think about the consequences.
Think in the here and now, be damned about the future.
That is the worst for consequences, though.
Yeah, you got there, and I think that's what's going. I think consequences is what's going to stream us back into working as a team.
That's good.
I think that we've seen an overreaction, and it's caused people to then. You did the action, we're going to do the reaction. The reaction is what we're living in right now. We're polar. We've created an environment of polar opposites, and that is an environment of enemies. And even the Bible says a country against each other can't thrive.
Oh, I'm ready for us to get back.
See, and that's what you were doing. You were evaluating consequentially. Wait a minute, if in 80 could I still deal or put up with or see myself there? And so there's a whole generation doesn't even think that. They're thinking, what am I going to do right now? What's it going to go? Is it going to, I can remember when I was 12 years old, I ate Twinkies all the time. I liked Twinkies. They were awesome.
Right.
I can't remember the last time I had a Twinkie.
Because that's true.
Because I would have to just open it up and rub it on my hips because that's where it was going anyway. But when I was 12, that was rocket fuel. I could just go. And it's being able to see what you're talking about by how you made decisions. It's not about knowledge. It's about wisdom.
Oh, yeah. Because I've seen it go sideways.
People living around you have the ability to absorb the wisdom if they're willing.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that people are willing right now unless they've seen the consequences of trying something different.
So let's talk about the consequences. So now I want to start a conversation about someone who is, this person has absolutely redefined masculinity, and I need your help to unpack why. Why are people men so committed to Andrew Tate and his, I don't want to say rhetoric, because some of the things he says are not crazy, but I feel like it doesn't, like, it's almost like he's the guy that everybody wants to hang out with. But
right.
at the
He's
same
not. Let me
time,
help you with what he is. Okay. He's not
who
the guy.
is Andrew Tate?
Andrew Tate's a winner.
Okay.
Okay. That's Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate, you have to look at where Andrew Tate came from. He's a fighter. He came up through the fight industry. There is no, oh, well, we're just going to have a draw. No, there's win and there's lose. And there's one thing you learn in real fighting, okay? In real fighting, what about the rules? There are no rules in real fighting. You're going to do what you got to do to win, because it's all about you winning if you got to fight. Okay? That's Andrew Tate. What we're seeing on Andrew Tate is a reaction to the push of the narrative of feminized masculinity. And that's why guys worship him, because they're saying he's a winner. And what does he talk about? I got money, I got girls, I got a car. And a person whose wife says, that's just stuff.
Does he disrespect women though? Because I haven't really seen him disrespect women. I could be wrong. So, or is it just his thoughts are old and
it is respect? Okay, I think respect is very personal. Okay, that what one person does would be considered by some people very disrespectful. By other people, it would be very respectful. See, and we used to, back in the day, all live in a structure in which everybody agreed this is how men operated. This is how women operated, based on the wisdom that they had gained through the generations of how do you make it work.
Right.
But in the 60s, we all said, screw that. We don't want that. We got a whole crowd coming up and saying, well, we want to change the narrative. And so people were polite and said, okay. We don't know for sure. Maybe you got something there. And so they were obliging that narrative. But you can't oblige it for free.
Right. This is Andrew Tate is the offshoot of what's going on. And there's a ton of Andrew Tate. Yeah, what we created. Really.
One word I believe would fit Andrew Tate, and that is enough. That is the word that fits Andrew Tate. Enough. I've had enough. Enough. I've given, I've obliged. And he came to the place of where he thought, to win, I have to take a harsh stance against the narrative of go along to get along.
Do you think that had to do though with the whole woke culture that everyone is kind of over? You know, like men playing women's sports, where he's like, that's stupid. I mean, some things to me are just
consequence. The woke culture is a natural consequence to the narrative of change, of being willing to change a narrative that for generations had worked.
Well, what if that narrative needed to be changed? How do we do that? Collaboration?
Without a doubt. Right. And I would say the narrative is changing with each couple every day. I've never seen two married people exactly alike. I've never seen two married people.
Very true.
Yeah. And
oh my God, that's so true. Like, I'm thinking of Oh my God. I'm thinking of the couples that I know. All like the dynamics of their relationship are so different. Like
Yeah.
I'm saying that like they're married, but one is the breadwinner, one is not, one is retired, I mean, it's so interesting because that's true.
They personalized what it takes
For
to
them
see
to
the
make it
vision.
work.
See, they personalize what it takes to reach the vision. See, and what killed us was the 50s, in which we grabbed onto, if you do it this way, it will work. And
Mhm.
then by the 60s, they said, well, that's just crap. Men work, women stay at home, do this, do this. And people followed that religiously, but it didn't work. The structure didn't work. Versus as what we've seen is people coming in and saying, wait a minute, I'm unique. I'm going to find someone unique, and we together are going to collaborate and come up with uniqueness.
Yeah.
And
That's
what's
so
funny
true.
is I've never seen a couple who sit and says, well, that'd work for us. Go, man, I know that would work for us, but we don't do that.
You have to really, but that also then requires you to listen, to understand,
Ooh,
like you said, to collaborate. Because I think
yes.
I can think of a friend of mine she's a powered ad exec in New York, and her husband was an artist. Her boyfriend at the time, I don't know if they're married now,
Wait a
but
minute, let
he was
me
an
show
artist.
you this. That's what you're talking about right here.
Yes,
Yes. And
yes,
somehow we're going to figure out how that's going to work. And I'm thinking,
yep,
not in this lifetime.
yep. It's true.
What
It's
you've
true.
actually shown is by choosing that challenge, you've lit the fuse of a bomb, and at some point it's going off.
So, in your opinion, what would have been the best? How should that relationship have? What would have been ideal for it to look like?
Not to happen.
Really, that's interesting because I
Yeah,
thought the same thing
no,
at the
that's a
time.
non-starter right there. Okay, that's like,
That he
you know,
was an artist, or that she made more money and he wasn't working.
it was the fact that they operated off two styles,
Oh,
and
interesting.
were they able within their lifetime to blend the styles, and they were so diametrically different, it was near impossible for it to blend. See,
Because one is a creative.
yes. And so I would have said, if she's doing this, but see,
Huh.
to do that, to find the guy that would best fit her, she would have to dial down, as he would have to dial down to collaborate. See, that's the element about collaboration people don't like. It doesn't collaborating is me have an idea and find someone that goes along with my idea. No, it's, this is a person, and here's this other person, and we feel like we have the ingredients and background to create a fit. Wow, there we go. To create the fit. And every couple has their unique fit.
So it's almost like shifting the mindset from romance to partnership.
Okay, here's where I go diametrically opposed to general thought.
Okay.
We came to a place that decided to worship self-improvement, self-esteem, self-vision.
That's true.
Be your true self. Well,
That's so true.
but you know what the problem was? They didn't say, wait a minute, there's a cost if you do that. The more you are so self-focused, the worse you're going to be at relatability.
That's so good,
And
Dr.
the healthy place is, I'm going to be myself to the place that I do not lose my relatability. Wow.
Mhm.
Now
Oh, it's so good.
I'm in a place of being available for a relationship.
I think I made that big mistake early on. I was
Easy to
very
do.
self-focused. Yeah. That's
And
so good.
and if I'm self-focused, what then begins to be the thing that drives me the most? And the thing that drives me the most when I'm self-focused is passion.
Yeah.
Man,
Passion and goals. I can achieve more by myself than I
yeah,
can with somebody else. Yeah, that's so
right, right. And
yeah.
and you can do that, and in a way that'll work. And I'm saying that's available. What I try to share with people is it's not for free. It's not for
Mhm.
free.
There's a
Yeah, you
cost
can
to
do it on
that.
your own. But wait a minute, and you're hearing this more and more, is living in the house with yourself and a cat as fulfilling as working together to create a team of a spouse and kids and a family and all.
Legacy.
Yes, yes. See, that takes work, but it has a payoff. And what
Yeah,
we're seeing is people who bought into me and the cat and acting as if it'll be as good or better than this other, and what they're finding out it is not.
true.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our amazing final time here,
This
what
has
do
been
you think?
fun.
I know that's what I'm trying to make it, and like it's really just a conversation because I'm talking to interesting people about things that most people aren't really. They want to know, but they're like, "Ah, I don't feel comfortable talking about those things, right? And they're lonely and they don't know how to engage. And so, final question or conversation for us on All American-ish. Where do we go from here? Do you see this changing? Because I know I've been listening to a lot of podcasts where men feel like 30% of men will never get married. It's a huge issue. It's becomes a breeding ground for loneliness and terrorism, actually, which I was like, oh my God. And I just feel that everyone deserves someone. I wholeheartedly, being a person who's being a person of faith and a Christian,
Uh-huh.
I know that God created a partner for everyone. I know that, right? So the only person that's holding us up is us or our other partner. How do we get with our other partner? I'll say this. I was at a movie theater um a couple months ago, and I saw this couple. And when I saw the couple, I was like, wow, there is a lid for every pot. And it made me
Yes.
think, like, why are people like, where do we start? Like, where do people start to meet their partner? And what is the consequence if they don't? Because 30% of people not getting in a relationship and being happy and sharing love and joy and compassion and some passion. How do we undo those things? Like if you had to have one final recommendation, what would that be?
First, recognize if you're a pot. Second, recognize if you're willing to have a lid. And that lids do not automatically fit every pot. There is a pot and there is a lid that has a fit. And sometimes you have to work to make the lid fit the pot. But
Mm.
there's where you want to ask yourself, number one, am I a pot? And do I see myself having a lid? Okay. What would that lid look like? Okay. Then
Because I had a vision in my mind now what my lid would look like. Okay.
there we go. Good. Good. And
Okay.
that's
Got
where you start. That's called dating. Dating
it.
is about evaluating lids.
Mm. I had a friend that said she dated 100 people before she got married. And the thought of that was exhausting for me.
Ooh, man.
I said 100. She said, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. She said it was in my 20s. She ended up getting married in her mid 30s, but I was just like, wow. So you got to get out there. You can't
Yes, you
just
do.
say you got to get out there. That's true.
And you've got to be authentic when you get out. See,
Yeah, that's the thing.
lids,
Stop trying to impress.
what are lids looking for? Lids are looking for a pot. Are
Right.
you projecting I'm a pot?
Mm.
And people go out and I'm gonna do anything but look like I'm a pot. And
Right.
I wonder why I can't find a lid. Well, there's why you can't find a lid, because a lid is only looking for a pot. If you're not being a pot, they don't see it connect.
Right. True.
But when I go out and I'm a lid, I'm a pot, then I'm sending the message of lid. And so then I get away from all the glitz and glamour and whatever and say, what I'm really looking for, if I want to be successful, is a fit.
And what is my fit?
What?
What is my fit?
Yeah, well, there it is. There it is. I believe
What is
that
my fit?
100%. What everybody, and you said it well, everybody has a fit.
Mm-hmm.
Not for us
And
to
the mechanics of figuring out your fit, I would say, is really aligned with who you are. Like, what do you like to do? Where do you like to go? What do you want to be? Like, those are the foundational things that I find that people never discuss when they're dating. Like, do you want to stay in the US? Do you see yourself living abroad? How do you want to raise children? Do you want to homeschool? Do you feel like you want your kids to go to public school or private school? How are you good with budgeting? Like, those are real things that you ask when you're dating, or not on the first date, but see if there's a chemistry match. But I find that people don't even discuss any of that stuff.
Right, because what do they do in place of what you just talked about? And what they do is passion.
Right.
Passion.
I'm like, you know what they do. Or
You know what they do. And
what they
do. I can do that. That passion initial passion is a great way of avoiding serious issues of fit.
Yeah. Like, can she cook?
Oh, yeah. And can I eat what she cooks?
Because most people just talking about cooking in the bedroom, but I'm talking about cooking for your kids. Like, how does she cook? Like you said, is she clean? Right?
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Right. Well, there was a phrase that I'm sorry we've let go of, and I hope we come back to, and that was our people.
Yes. Let's talk about that. What does that phrase make you think about?
It makes me think about if everybody you live with is a pig, but you're trying to convey you're a turkey, well, that's ridiculous.
Right.
No, if you grew up with pigs, given time and the passion lowers, what's coming out? And it isn't a turkey, it'll be a pig.
It'll be a pig. Oof.
And people feel like they've been sold. What's it called when you go to bait and switch? When you go to
but they never really was sold a bait and switch. Like you said, they always saw it. They just chose to ignore it.
Exactly. And so people seek people who are willing to ignore so that they get chosen. Being chosen is more important than fit. Or that I control my chosenness, and only Prince Harry is going to fit that. Whoa,
right.
Yeah, what are your chances? Yeah,
right.
Kind of what versus here I am, I'm out there being me, I'm in line with the people that raise me, and I convey how they raise me with someone else. And then in that interaction, I minimize passion and I maximize fit.
I also think too that like, I know we're supposed to wrap up soon, but I wanted to say this and get your feedback on this. Like, culturally, I think, like, so I lived in London a little bit. I used to watch this show on matchmaking. It was a South Asian woman, and her goal was to get people in the South Asian culture to marry. And so I learned a ton about just the South Asian culture and marriage and arranged marriage and how like the families come together. Like it's a whole process, a whole thing. And then now I have a few friends who are also South Asian, and just their whole perspective is they intend to get married. Like that's culturally, that's how they're wired. That's how they're set up. And in other cultures, I mean, I'm blessed to have friends with diverse backgrounds and ethnicities. Like I do find that some of traditional cultures, they really set, like, I want to say in the US, I feel sometimes that if you're in your 20s, it's not like, and not married in your late, like, let's say you're a gentleman, you're professional, you're 28.
Right.
I feel like if you're American, whether you are, Black, white, Asian, whatever, Latino in the US, if you are from your native country and maybe first generation, if you are American in your late 20s and successful, oh, it's high fives all day long.
Right.
But if you are of South Asian or other, let's see, Japanese and Chinese cultures, and you're not married and you're 28, that is a problem. And I do think that in the US, we have to change how we look at what we celebrate as well. Because I think that in itself contributes a lot to people not getting married.
Yes. What are we shining the light on?
Right.
Are we shining the light on temporal? Or are we shining the light on forevers?
That's good.
That's like, this person's going to be with you forever, buddy. Yeah. And anybody can be hot for a moment, but being connected for a lifetime is sitting on the porch at 80, enjoying your life.
That's what I'm looking at. I think that's a good close. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is
Dr. just Rhoades. You are awesome. This is gonna be so good. I can't wait to the editing teams put this together. It's so good. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. And
as
keep
you
sharing the gospel and knowledge and wisdom.
Yes,
wisdom. All generations. All right, let's get these people married and have some babies. Love you. Have a good one. Bye.
I'm just saying, count the costs, and if you do, we don't have to push you to marriage. We just need to get out of your way, and you'll get married.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Appreciate you. Bye.
Have a great, blessed day.
You too.